Hi. What I want to talk about today, I had a phone call from one customer and he was questioning about inspections, what we do, does the inspection has any warranty, and why would I have to do the inspection if I can have a look on a MOT advisories, which is a valid point, you know, actually, because education comes with sort of practice and understanding certain things, and certain measures, and then you grow accordingly, which I understand his point, and he's right. It doesn't need actually inspection. You can have a look on MOT, which is fine not in a real world, but in an ideal situation, right? In the illusion, you would think. But the thing is, as from educational perspective, MOT is just a legal requirement. Also, MOT has some tolerances, and in the UK, the MOT check in general is not very strict. As long as it passes emission tests, and there also can be some tolerances within place in suspension components, etc. Right, which is again a bit vague. So therefore, it leaves for an MOT tester a legal sort of loophole, if I can sort of specify that way. Because if you allow some sort of tolerances, how are you going to measure them exactly they were at the time of MOT test, right? Secondly, there's many garages who sell repair cars and they have MOT stations, right? And what happens within a trade, there's a lot of self-interest, and from the government perspective, there is no standard what MOT station is allowed to do. You know, they can repair cars, MOT them to check for the standard of the government guidelines to pass or fail an MOT. They can also sell the cars, right? The person who doesn't understand the trade, it leaves the person who running the business. And for somebody who understands the trade, the interpretation can be of what I just mentioned, what they are allowed and do. There's a huge conflict of interest, right? If you repair the cars, in my opinion, you shouldn't be MOT in the vehicles. It's just because it never goes to the right, because that means there could be a blink with the eye to one person, and not blink of the eye for other person. That means the decisions cannot be equal, right, between people who actually taking the vehicles to the MOT test, right? So as the seller has conflict, so as the MOT tester or MOT garage who fix and repair and sell cars, as there are quite few, they are in a conflict of interest, right? So that means they will pass the car with some advisories which could be vital for buyer, as that person who phoned me will have a look on advisories on MOT, which is fine, but they are, like I said, I've seen, and there is, you know, and that will be down to the VOSA to do this, but for them it's impossible to control, you know. There's millions of new cars on the road, and those cars needs an MOT certificate every year, and for them to police this, it would be almost impossible unless they stop this sort of MOT system in the UK, where garage which qualifies for the size of the premises to build an MOT station, you know, that problem will never go away. You know, ethics in a trade are very not bad, but they are low, you know. So that means whoever sells, repairs cars at one place, they have huge conflict of interest, like I said, right? So as the sellers have conflict of interest when they know people who MOTs the vehicles, or those MOT stations are just nearby or the next door, right? Where again, not always everything's played by the rules. Therefore, I have seen, and that can be a reply to the customer. It's hard to describe for somebody who's convinced on certain things, which doesn't happen. That only happens in an ideal world, but we don't live in an ideal world because everyone tries to cut corners. There's many unethical people in the trade, so as there is unethical sellers, right? As everything starts from, there's no used car standard, and basically I have created the used car standard, and we followed the used car standard when we go and inspect every single vehicle. So when I reply to this customer, right, in a long-winded reply, it's a bit educational. We look for those items what should be, what you as a consumer would want to be right, but they never are. So that's why we have that standard on the basic maintenance items. What are those minimum requirements? Reason why we have those minimum requirements, they are not legal minimum requirements. When everything is falling to bits and you have to start replacing all of them, like when it gets too late on an MOT. Those are minimum legal requirements defined by Transport of London, etc., by VOSA, etc., and also sort of policing that, right? So what I mean by this, so when we go by our minimum standards, so that means we making sure when you're buying this vehicle, you can drive this vehicle at least for 2 years, you know, and you will not have to replace tires, disc and pads, maybe some silly faults, electrical faults in a diagnostic scans, coolant leaks, oil leaks. This is no for us, right? Because they will cost money to repair that vehicle. So that's why we have that set standard, minimum measurements, what we consider as good used vehicle, where you can buy safely and drive for 2 years, and your vehicle should not have any problems. Obviously, there's another context of when you buy a used vehicle and it passes our used car quality check, the standard what we have. Don't forget it's a used car and it can break down. You know, so that means you always have to make sure you have a appropriate extended warranty, seller's warranty, or any extended warranty. Let's just talk about more vehicles above 5-6 year old, up to 10 and up to 100,000 miles, because those would be the deadlines when any warranty will sort of really cover you. There is exceptions, right? But the older the vehicle, the higher the mileage, the more things falling off, right? So that's what I'm saying. Don't expect the lights will be covered. Don't expect like heater fan if it suddenly stops when you bought a vehicle after 2-3 months, right? Those are consumables, and not really consumables, but how to say, convenience items, right? Don't assume the remote stops working and that's covered under warranty. It's not. It will be your costs, right? Same as a central locking in a way, you know. Okay, that will be affect the car security more likely. You know, the seller would not. He's not going to pay for the repairs. Of course, you need to understand it's a certain things, it depends how quickly they fail. Within that sort of warranty period, 3 months, within those sort of 6 months already will be longer. That after the 3 months, the certain things will even more fall off. Like when you're buying a brand new car, it has manufacturer's warranty for 3 years. You as a consumer, you can't just expect buying a used car and you will have warranty on everything. No, same as the battery. Vehicle's battery is covered for the first year only. There will be probably exceptions, right, in certain things when there is a bit of dispute about I haven't used it, or I used it and I used it every day. It's not a long mileage, etc. You know, especially if you've been servicing the vehicle constantly on a main dealer in one place, they will help you out. That's completely different. That is a customer service, just helping somebody out who is in trouble. And I'm going a bit long-winded, but just to understand, you know, you can't moan about everything to the seller, especially headlight bulbs or minor things, you know, horn stops working, etc. It's a used vehicle. Every vehicle, brand new vehicles break down, you know, and that's why you have manufacturer's warranty, and you can extend it when it runs out, right? So it means nothing is covered, so that means you can't expect everything all and above from the used car seller. They only have some sort of margin what they make, you know, and if they follow our used car standard process, sometimes there's nothing much in there. So you have to understand, you have to protect you. That's your duty to purchase appropriate extended warranty at least for another 3 years, right? And doesn't mean everything will be covered. There will be mechanical and electrical failure is covered, but there will be no wear and tear possibly covered. So make sure you purchasing, depends on our age and the mileage of the vehicle, appropriate sort of wear and tear extended warranty which covers those items, you know, so you are more protected, you know. Even so, some of them will not cover your central lockings and etc. It will only cover mechanical and electrical sort of powertrain items, if I can say so, you know, which involve the diffs, the prop shafts, gearbox, engine, and all of those electrical components which controls all the subsystems for the powertrain items. You see what I'm saying? So that means suspension when it wears out is not going to be covered. Wheel bearing when it wears out ain't going to be covered. Again, some warranties it will, but again, it's a really grey area. So that means you need to buy a vehicle which is passing through the set standards what we have for every single vehicle. We don't go just looking at the vehicle out of blue. We have those set minimum standards which works for the consumer, which should work, and the vehicle should last you. It doesn't matter how old is the vehicle, but last you at least 2 years. Obviously, without replacing tires, brake pads, fixing oil leaks, coolant leaks, cooling system operation. You know, certain things can fail during obviously the age and the mileage, and basically, what the heck is going on here? The road rage, and the two BMWs can't have a dispute about who's right, who's wrong. Stopping on the motorway. That's what you get. Let me get back where I were. Think about talking about those extended warranties. Yeah. So, no coolant leaks, no oil leaks, cooling system operational, no fault codes in electrical systems. There can be some minimal communication issues which not really affecting anything. Full service history you want. Tires 5 mil, pads at least 60% left, and front disc and pads, rear disc and pads, it's fair wear and tear items, fair wear and tear friction materials left. You know, there's no vibration, audible noises, anything like that. short term, that what I define as a good used vehicle, right? Like I said again, battery obviously passing the battery test. Rest of it, buying a used car, it can break down, and that's where it should be covered under warranty, and mostly powertrain items. Remember, again, depends how old is the vehicle. Some vehicles you will buy, they will be still covered under manufacturer's warranty. Some vehicles will be still have an extended warranty, and seller will be able to transfer. Will be able to transfer this warranty over, right? So, coming back to the answer, I hope it educates a bit. So when I'm coming back to MOT standard is minimum legal requirement. MOT doesn't define the vehicle's in a good condition. MOT, after passing the test, it doesn't define vehicle will stay in the same condition for the next 12 months, right? So this is what you need to understand. And again, when I'm saying there's a conflict of interest in the trades, again, within some private sellers where they know MOT station, they have the friend and they're passing the test. I'm not saying everyone is doing it, but this is what happens. This is what we see on a findings on a vehicle. Sometimes you're thinking, what the heck? You know, how this vehicle even has the MOT certificate. So these things happen. There's also happens where the vehicle don't have any advisories, where more likely the person owned the MOT station, and there's a excessive corrosion building up on a suspension parts, on underside of the vehicle, and there's a heavy corrosion, and you're wondering, what the heck? How it's possible the vehicle doesn't have any corrosions mentioned on advisories? So that is real world, and that's not a fiction of the real world. Now, what that means, what I'm talking about. Let me rephrase to be specific. This is not reality. This is the reality. What happens? That's not a fiction of the what you assume should be. You know, nothing is right in this world. You know, there's always black and white, and always will be. So, MOT should protect you from the vehicle has minimum acceptable standard where the vehicle passes, right? And again, depends how picky is the MOT station, because you have to remember always, people always complain about everything. When you will fail the car, the person the MOT tester failed this vehicle, he's gonna start complaining to boss, so why did he fail my car? You know, same as you buying a car. When you're buying a used car, you haven't checked the vehicle, and then something's gonna go wrong. You're gonna start rejecting this vehicle, where you shouldn't be inspecting this vehicle, understand the overall vehicle's condition, you know, and when something goes wrong, one light comes on, which is just normal, which can happen. And again, where the communication breaks down between the seller and you, because you want smarter, you wanted to rush the situation, and seller sold you a car, and then suddenly, because something goes wrong, you switch the sides. Now the seller is bad. He sold you a bad vehicle, and you want to reject it because you lost the trust. You didn't check the vehicle, double check the vehicle yourself, right? Seller, let's assume, didn't follow the our used car standard, what we assume the vehicle should be. So you bought them. You start changing tires and pads, and you're spending money. You assume you're spending money, right? Because you didn't negotiate the best value what the inspection will provide, because we check for those basic things to our set standard, what we assume, and it should be definition what is a good used vehicle, and we have it, you know. And then because you spend the money on these things, then the warning light come on, you start defining and assuming to yourself the vehicle is bad. No, it's not. You didn't know what condition the vehicle is. You assume, we'll change the pads and this and that, and something along the line comes up. Like I said, it's a used vehicle. It will break down. Your job is to make sure the vehicle has relevant extended warranty, which will cover you for at least to the price of which will cover you up to the value of that purchase price, right? Or at least sensible cost of the repairs. If you're getting like some peace of mind warranty where it covers you up to £500, £1,000 when engine goes, that is the worst scenario, and it will not cover you. You will just start pulling your hair out of it, you know. But you need to make sure you have appropriate cover for the appropriate for the relevant price of that vehicle, for age of that vehicle, and for the repairs. You know, how much it will cost to replace the engine, how much is the used engine, how much is used gearbox, how much is remanufactured engine and a gearbox. So those will be items would be your guideline. How much money, what would be the claim limit on that extended warranty based on the age and the price of the vehicle, so you can rectify that vehicle. You see what I'm saying? So there's enough when the shit hits the fan to pay for those repairs. Again, not everything is covered, you know. And answering this question, checking it just purely buying on an MOT advisories, again, you don't know. As ethical person who buys the vehicle, you would assume yes, that's correct, but it's not. The MOT is minimum legal requirement. It doesn't define the vehicle's overall condition, right? We do. We have set standard for that. What are those minimum requirements? So you're not investing as much as money when you're buying a vehicle, but all those basic things meet those requirements, and I'm saying again, it should last you 2 years without changing tires, brake pads, timing belts, etc. There shouldn't be any leaks, anything like that. Oil leaks, or could be acceptable standard age-related weeps based again on the mileage and age of the vehicle. So therefore, you have to always double check from who you buy. MOT history, service history. Service history defines the vehicle's overall maintenance quality. If the vehicle has been maintained to the good standard and there's no wishy-washy and some parts of missing of the service history where you don't know what have happened. So there's also, during obviously the vehicle's life cycle, there will be some repairs in the ownership of the previous owner, you know, like EGR valves, turbos, engine repairs, maybe chain issues, and everything defines itself by who repaired the vehicle to what standard, how much these repairs were, how good was the repairer. So there's so many not really the issues, but the little touches during the lifespan of this vehicle, life cycle, what's been repaired to what good standard. So all those things, what happened before and who repaired them, so that defines that condition, how good they're being repaired. Did all of those items and failures being repaired correctly to the correct standard, not in a Mickey Mouse garages where you as an owner, keeper, I think you're going to spend less money and you have a master technician repair quality and standard and appropriate quality parts fitted on a vehicle, which not Mickey Mouse parts, you know, where again every part has a life cycle, duty cycle, and how long this will last. The cheaper the parts, cheap components will not last you as long, you know. So that means there's so many issues you can draw out of it. It's a kind of bit of philosophy, you know. When you do understand and you find out how important it is, and if you're not looking after your vehicle, it's your problem. That vehicle will cost you in the long term a lot if you're going to start leaving. That's what most people do. They leave, then you're getting cracked tires, worn brake pads. I'm not going to do this, I will just leave it, and everything starts wearing out. Timing belt not done, cracked, accessory belt cracked, and you can be buying this vehicle based on MOT standard, and that's going to be £1,000 on a small car for just get that vehicle to the acceptable standard minimum requirement for you to that vehicle, to increase the vehicle's durability and lifespan for the next sort of 2 years. That's going to be out of your pocket. So do you understand where I'm coming from now? When we go out, we don't trust anyone. We don't know what standard they rectified this vehicle from when that vehicle ended up on a forecourt. When the seller's buying a vehicle, they just buying. They don't even have their own standard. They don't have the standard what they should be when they're buying those cars from all those middlemen, like whether you as a private seller, whether you trade it in. If you trade it in a piece of dog, right, they have to take this dog and sell it, and somebody will buy this piece of dog. You know, which is falling in bits. You see what I'm saying? So that means those online platforms, marketplaces, brokers who sweeps the cream off the used car seller eyes and then resell it to them, and they saying this is what those sort of minimum requirements is, but they selling these vehicles. But if you're buying cracked tires, everything needs doing, that means there's additional expense, and some people will not do those things and will still sell it for the average market value, maybe slightly cheaper, and the seller will earn that bit of profit out of it, but you will pay that because you haven't checked, you know. And I'm not, like I said, all of this time I'm trying to explain this, we're coming back to the same thing. No one has the minimum standard when you're buying a vehicle. Everyone just does how they want to do it, you know. But when we check, we have the minimum requirements, minimum standards. Everyone of the platform is trained and they're following the same standard, the way the inspection have to be carried out, with a lot of complexity involved, you know. So if you are that generic person who doesn't want to spend money on inspection and he thinks he's going to save £180, which is the price of the battery or price of the one tyre or the price of the one key, you know, and you think you saved yourself a lot of money, it's going to be you buying this vehicle, and that vehicle what you're buying from the seller, remember the vehicle have to be in a satisfactory condition, and it is, right? And it is. You bought it, you know, you've been given an opportunity, but you saved money because you think you are a very smart person. But by saving just on battery, you haven't saved on your short-term expenses what should be fixed prior to sale, right? Or arrange the best price for you. And that's where all the misunderstanding starts. Like I said, like I mentioned before, you're going to start buying tires, you're going to start buying this and that, and then something's going to happen, and then you're going to start assuming the vehicle is not the vehicle is faulty and you will reject this vehicle. No, it's not. The vehicle is in satisfactory condition. You haven't checked it. You didn't want to pay the money. You think you are smarter than everyone else, and then you're going to be blaming the seller. No, some sellers, like I said, they buy a car, the car is in a satisfactory condition, and they're selling it. And it's up to them. They can ask whatever they want, you know. But you haven't checked it. But the car is in satisfactory condition. Don't just blame the seller. Blame yourself, you know. In simple terms, if you are stupid, you will be stupid, you know. So you need to understand that we have the set standard. You will pay that money, and those items will be checked. Cooling system leaks, oil leaks, battery tests, start and stop systems, tires, brakes, timing belt. And if they're not to our standard and they need doing, that means there's no fault codes in the system, so they're acceptable certain things which can be. There's nothing you can do. You know, some cars are well known for those things, and more likely there will be some glitch, you know, and that's fine. It's not going to cause anything for the vehicle to break down or operate unless something else sort of fails, you know, which is electrics like a bulb in a kitchen, you know that. And then you can buy, negotiate, and get the best price and buy the vehicle, and at least you know the vehicle is in a good used condition, in a good condition based on our standard, and with peace of mind you can buy this vehicle and get appropriate extended warranty, or just stay with the seller's warranty what they offer. Remember, they don't cover everything, you know, on a used car. So just again clarify what actually seller will cover in writing, in terms and conditions, so you don't have, when the dispute occurs, you know, you don't have illusional expectations, you know, and seller has different expectations, and that's where mostly the cases are when things goes wrong and arguments starting, because no one understands where they are. You have too high expectations, and seller has too low expectations, or just seller has just yes, the vehicle has faulty, and we're not gonna cover it. It's not covered under warranty, but then you demand it is. So just be wise, you know. I'm not teaching anyone how to suck eggs. I don't say you have to use our services, but we do make a big significant difference. We also can source the car for you. We have a search type services where we can search for you for several links, for several good leads which meet our standards, and responses from sellers are up to our standards, and where we can define and understand, yes, this vehicle can be something worth looking at. So, and then you can have that option. If you don't, if you want to save yourself hassle, if you don't want to search online on the internet and wasting your time, so we have those options, and then we can give you those options, those leads. You can have a look. We have also a car sourcing, which is a bit more involved than just giving you a lead, where we think the seller responded to our queries, what we define as a good car, and then we're giving you a lead. Then you can go have a look and buy it if everything is acceptable for you, or just book an inspection and do the inspection, see if thing is in a acceptable condition, you know, and purchase it that way, or just use car sourcing, where we simply will keep going around until that car meets our requirements. We define it. That includes budget, inspection in there for free, you know, and that's unlimited until we are satisfied. So, finalizing off, yes, the vehicle inspection, it doesn't come with the warranty, same as an MOT check. If there is something at the time of inspection, we will find it and we will write it down, you know. Latent issues, oil consumptions in long term, it's impossible. It's a latent defect. If there is a latent issue, there is. Obviously, there's also tolerances on oil consumption. Some engines burn much more oil than other engines, like BMWs, for example, or some sport cars, you know, and that's just a normal practice. The manufacturer, under manufacturer guidelines, you know, and that's considered satisfactory. You know, so somebody deliberately interfering with certain systems which can't be found, that's a completely different ball game. You know, that's not checked under inspection. Sometimes it's impossible. If there is suspicions, it will be mentioned. Like DPF is removed, physically removed, or CAT is removed, because most of the modified vehicles, there would be MOT failures, because they if it's a stage 1 or stage 2s, they're removing the cats, and if the MOT place will find this out, they will fail the MOT if it's physically seen, or if it will fail emission test. So you see what I'm saying? So if you like what we do, please share this message to people around you. You know, we have this used car standard, and that's what we define as a good used vehicle. It doesn't matter how old it is, you know, and I'm not that doesn't matter how old it is. Every person has different perspective on the vehicles. Aesthetics, you know, that will be down to you as a buyer. You know, aesthetics could vary where this vehicle being used, by who it's being used, by how many owners it's being used, and the scratch works. Yes, there could be insurance repairs. Some of them are poor, some of them are good. That will be down to your standard. Depends on which inspection you will book. So I highly recommend to book an inspection, because it finds out, reflects all of the issues based on the inspection package to protecting you. My mission, and everyone's on a platform mission, is to protect you, so you know what you're buying, you know, and with potential repair costs. So as long as it's explained to you, inspector will not advise to buy or not. He can advise whether there's no reason to reject based at the time of the inspection. There's nothing wrong. It's nothing wrong. It's not what you can't I don't know, damage the car and then say yes, you don't buy it. And if the vehicle is bad, the inspector will say stay away or reconsider purchasing this vehicle unless the price is significantly reduced. You know, because any poor vehicle, if it has the right price and you have the time and effort to and willingness to rectify, you buy it if the price is right. You know, that's the point of inspection. You know, and remember, don't never blame the seller. Double check what you buy, you know, and buy the right vehicle in right condition. And when something does go wrong, you don't blame the seller. Again, it's not seller's fault the car will break down, but if there's something there, we can find it out and that could be fixed, right? Or as long as you know and you assume, okay, this is going to last me this, and you got price reduction and you know, right? That's a completely ball game. That's why you use, that's a completely different ball game. That's why you would use our service, what I created, and as a definition, for me, it gives satisfaction when somebody is satisfied what they're buying. They know what they're buying, they protected themselves, and they have the right extended warranty. They don't blame the seller, minimizing the litigation process, minimizing the unnecessary arguments between you and a seller, because you know you bought a car in best condition possible and vehicle is in a good condition for the age and mileage, or average, right? But then something happened, and then everyone understands seller will try to get this thing right, you know, by the Consumer Rights Act, you know, and it comes back rectified. And again, if you want to repair the vehicle in main dealer and seller doesn't want to repair the main dealer, it's acceptable at least. Then you pay the repair bill 50-50, you know. But as long as there is a resolution and no stupid things taken against, like where seller just ignores certain things, where they know he's in the wrong, like engine failure or gearbox failure, and they just know it happened within those 3 months or within these 6 months, and he has to get it right. If he doesn't, obviously you end up going to the court, you know. And sometimes it does happen with stubborn sellers, you know, and unfortunately even inspection is at least you will have evidence. If there was an issue, there is liable, but if it's not, it's still under warranty. That's what I'm saying. See what I'm saying? And if we can help you avoid it, we will. But if it happens, it can happen as it's used car, as I've been explaining this during the course of this video. It can happen, but we can't prevent, you can't prevent other person saying no, we're not gonna do it, you know. But even there's a clear evidence the gearbox failed without your interference, you know, or engine failed without your interference, and if the seller says no, you have to take him to the court. That's it. There's no point about why it's failed. You know, they can find out unless it's your neglect or the way you use that vehicle, or you modify the vehicle, which again will not be covered, and seller as a reason to reject your claim because you abused the car, or you modified wherever you modified, and because of that it failed, you know, or likelihood it failed because of that. You don't have leg to stand, you know. As we know, so as the sellers are bad, the buyers are bad, making stuff up, you know, especially when they start assuming something, start making stuff up where they start pretending there is a fault where there's actually not. So, you know, let's just be fair. That's what we do, making a fair assessment of the vehicle at the time of the inspection, at the time of the purchase, so you know where you are, where you both are, and what happens afterward would be your duty to get an appropriate extended warranty. Seller's warranty would always be just the basic stuff, powertrain, you know, that's pretty much it. You know, it doesn't cover you for, you have to change your bulbs, etc. You have to do the maintenance, the pads, the tires, everything. Vehicle have to be in satisfactory condition. There's not really a definition exactly what it have to be. We have that standard which is above satisfactory level, you know. By definition, satisfactory, as long as the vehicle is not falling out, it's passing the MOT, there's not no place, etc. It is in satisfactory condition. If you have maintenance items, how you define that? Don't have to replace it if you're not checking. It's not important for you. It's down to you. All right, we're gonna cut this short. If you like what we do, please do share. Please do share our vision, our mission. We want you to have less problems as possible in life, and that's my mission for everyone who's on a platform. They are trained, they have set standards, they set rules, how the inspection have to be done. They're fully qualified technicians. Is right, trade insurance is in place, and liability insurance is in place, and indemnity insurance is in place if the person wishes to have one. Click subscribe. See you next time.